Hi, how are you? I'd like to read this article to you. It's written by Kirby Anderson. It's called The Decline of a Nation. Doomsayers for many years have been predicting the decline and fall of this country. And while many of these short-term predictions have proven inaccurate, there is some truth to the prevailing belief that this nation will fall like every great nation before it. Apart from revival and reformation, this nation is destined to decline. The problem with many of these doomsayers is that while their prognosis is right, their diagnosis is wrong. Yes, the future is bleak, but our problem is not ultimately political, economic, or social, as the doomsayers would have us believe. The decline of this nation, just as the decline of every other nation, is due to spiritual factors. The political, economic, and social problems we encounter are the symptoms of the spiritual deterioration of a nation. Just as there are spiritual principles that influence the life of an individual, so there are political spiritual principles that govern the life of a nation. And though we may feel that these are obscure and difficult to discern, in reality, they are visible to anyone willing to look at the record of history. Our problem is that we don't really learn from history. George Sananaya said that those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it. The philosopher Hegel said, "What experience and history teach us is this, that people in government never have learned anything from history or acted on principles deduced from it." Or as Winston Churchill said, "The one thing we have learned from history is that we don't learn from history." The refrains that are often heard are, "It can't happen here," or "Our country is different." But the reality is that nations are born and die just like individuals. Their longevity may exceed the average person's lifespan, but the reality is that nations also die. History has shown that the average age of the great civilizations is around 200 years. Countries like Great Britain exceeded the average, while other countries like the United States are just now reaching the average age. Each of the great civilizations in the world passed through a series of stages from birth to their decline to their death. Historians have listed these in 10 stages. The first stage moves from bondage to spiritual faith. The second from spiritual faith to great courage. The third stage moves from great courage to liberty. The fourth stage moves from liberty to abundance. The fifth stage moves from abundance to selfishness. The sixth stage moves from selfishness to complacency. The seventh stage moves from complacency to apathy. The eighth stage moves from apathy to moral decay. The ninth stage moves from moral decay to dependence, and the 10th and last stage moves from dependence to bondage. These are the 10 stages through which the great civilizations have gone. Notice the progression, from bondage to liberty, back to bondage. The first generation throws off the shackles of bondage, only to have a later generation, through apathy and indifference, allow itself to once again be enslaved. This is the direction this and every country is headed. The book of Judges shows that the nation of Israel passed through these same stages, and this country will do the same unless revival and reformation break out and reverse the inexorable decline of this nation. I thought that was interesting because as I've read it, and because of the time that I've been here, I've seen this progression. I've read of this progression. As I've studied history, I've seen the exact same thing. And as I've studied the Bible over the last 32 years, I've seen it happen in the life of the children of Israel over and over again. Let me read this to you and see how this sounds to you. I'm going to be coming from Ezekiel 28. It reads, Then this message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, give the prince of Tyre this message from the sovereign Lord. In your great pride, you claim, I am a god. I sit on a divine throne in the heart of the sea. But you are only a man and not a god, though you boast that you are a god. You regard yourself as wiser than Daniel, and think no secret is hidden from you. With your wisdom and understanding, you have amassed great wealth, gold and silver for your treasuries. Yes, your wisdom has made you very rich, and your riches have made you very proud. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Because you think you are as wise as a god, I will now bring against you a foreign army, the terror of the nations. They will draw their swords against your marvelous wisdom and defile your splendor. They will bring you down to the pit, and you will die in the heat of this, in the heart of the sea, pierced with many wounds. Will you then boast, I am a God, to those who kill you? To them you will be no God, but merely a man. You will die like an outcast at the hands of foreigners. I, the sovereign Lord, has spoken. Then this further message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, sing this funeral song for the king of Tyre. Give him this message from the sovereign Lord. You were the model of perfection, full of wisdom and exquisite in beauty. Your rich commerce led you to violence, and you sinned. So I banished you in disgrace from the mountain of God. I expelled you, O mighty guardian, from your place among the stones of fire. Your heart was filled with pride because of all your beauty. Your wisdom was corrupted by your love for splendor. So I threw you to the ground and exposed you to the curious gaze of kings. You defiled your sanctuaries with your many sins and your dishonest trade. So I brought fire from within you, and it consumed you. I reduced you to ashes on the ground, in the sight of all who were watching. All who knew you are appalled at your fate. You have come to a terrible end, and you will exist no more. Then another message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, turn and face the city of Sidon, and prophesy against it. Give the people of Sidon this message from the sovereign Lord. I am your enemy, O Sidon, and I will reveal my glory by what I do to you. When I bring judgment against you and reveal my holiness among you, everyone watching will know that I am the Lord. I will send a plague against you, and blood will be spilled in your streets. The attack will come from every direction, and your people will lie slaughtered within your walls. Then everyone will know that I am the Lord. Amen. Sounds familiar? That's why it's a great time to be a Christian. There's time for revival in this country. There's time for God's people who are called by his name to humble themselves and pray. And he will hear from heaven. And he will heal your land. If you love this country and this world as you say you do, now is the time to step forward as children of God for a great revival. That is our only hope. America has been established for 200 plus years now, and it's passing laws that is determining its direction. But that's because the children of God have not turned from their wicked ways. They have not stopped calling right wrong and wrong right. They have not learned how to love their God with all their heart, mind, body, and soul. And they have not learned how to love their neighbor as themselves. With all the atrocities that are being brought out against mankind, stop finding excuses and tell the truth. That is not acceptable behavior in any culture. Definitely not in the culture of God. What are you going to do? Are you going to learn from history, or are you going to allow it to be repeated? Be blessed. Think about what I said. Meditate on it. Selah.